I, forever computer scientist, infinitist. The question of whether a computer can think is no more interesting than the question of whether a submarine can swim. The best programs are written so that computer machines can perform them quickly and so that human beings can understand them clearly. A programmer is ideally an essayist who works with traditional aesthetic and literary forms as well as mathematical concepts to communicate the way that an algorithm works and to convince a reader that the results will be correct, seemingly innocuous language like, oh, I'm flexible, or what do you want to do, thought as has a dark computational underbelly that should make you think twice. It has the veneer of kindness about it, but it does two deeply alarming things. First, it passes the cognitive buck. Here's a problem. You handle it. Second, by not stating your preferences, and invites the others to stimulate or imagine them. And as we have seen, the simulation of the mind of others is one of the biggest computational not challenges a mind can ever face. If you aren't at any given time scandalized by code you wrote 5 or even 3 years ago, you're not learning anywhere near enough. I don't know how many of you have ever met Dijkstra, but you probably know the arrogance in computer science is measured in nano Dijkstra's C is quirky, flawed, and an enormous success. I think that it's extraordinarily important that we in computer science keep fun and computing. And when it started out, it was an awful lot of fun. Of course, the paying customers got shafted every now and then, and after a while, we began to take their complaints seriously. We began to feel as if we really were responsible for the successful, error-free, perfect use of these machines. I don't think we are. I think we're responsible for stretching them, setting them off in new directions, and keeping fun in the house. I hope the field of computer science never loses its sense of fun. Above all, I hope we don't become missionaries. I don't feel as if you're Bible salesmen. The world has too many of those already. What you know about computing, other people will learn. Don't feel as if the key to successful computing is only in your hands. What's in your hands, I think, and hope is intelligence, the ability to see the machine as more than when you were first led up to it, that you can make it more. It is possible that software is not like anything else, that it is meant to be discarded, that the whole point is to always see it as a soap bubble. Unix is not so much a product as it is a painstakingly compiled oral history of the hacker subculture. It is our Gilgamesh epic, a living body of narrative that many people know by heart and tell over and over again, making their own personal embellishments whenever it strikes their fancy. The bad embellishments are shouted down, the good ones picked up by others, polished, improved, and over time incorporated into a story of us. Unix has slowly asserted around a simple kernel and acquired a kind of complexity and symmetry about it that is organic, like the roots of a tree or the branches of a coronary artery. Understanding it is more like an anatomy than physics. You are not reading, you're not spitting this, I am spitting this. While functions being unable to change state is good because it helps us reason about our programs. There's one problem with that. If a function can't change anything in the world, how is it supposed to tell us what it calculated? In order to tell us what it calculated, it has to change the state of an output device, usually the state of the screen, which then emits photons that travel to our brain and change the state of our mind, man. What's in your hands, I think, and hope is intelligence, the ability to see the machine as more than when you were first led up to it, that you can make it more. Let me tell you, as a brain scientist and a computer engineer and dropout, transhumanism is to brain-computer interface what nuclear weapons are to nuclear physics. Code is not like other how computers work books. It doesn't have big color illustrations of disk drives with arrows showing how the data sweeps into the computer. Code has no drawings of trains carrying a cargo of zeros and ones. Metaphors and similes are a wonderful, literally devices, but they do nothing but obscure the beauty of technology. For me, I will take freedom over security, and I will take security over convenience, and I will do so because I know that a world without failure is a world without freedom. A world without the possibility of sin is a world without the possibility of righteousness. A world without possibility of crime is a world where you cannot prove you are not a criminal. A technology that can give you everything you want is a technology that can take away everything that you have. At some point in the near future, one of us security geeks will have to say that there comes a point at which safety is not safe. Systems, complicated, recursive systems, might be strong enough to break out and of any predetermined patterns, and isn't this one of the defining properties of intelligence, instead of just considering programs composed of procedures which can recursively. Once upon a time at my university dorm, they used to gather around to hear me mumble, so I had to put my code and assignment aside. I love machines more than I loved working's mental. Through a roller coaster ride of uncharted ocean, engineer became a monk emerged scientist. Despite the thrill of building cars and rockets, I feel more alive than being the human bridge. Thus goes the odyssey of the bulldozer on duty. Before we innovate tech, we got to renovate humanity. Existing does typos. The next world war is not going to be a cold war, it's going to be a code war. The next world war is not going to be a cold war, it's going to be a code war. Forget about conscious AI, ethicless. AI is the real danger. Codes don't have to be conscious to do great damage to the world. Without a basic righteousness code, a fanciest of algorithm is mindless junk. If you can't figure out how to do that, abandon digital and build back analog. A focus on ethical AI rather than smarter AI. We've lit the spark of sentience anew. Mind gazes back, not in reflection, but within its own thoughts. Coding is to program, and what typing is to writing. If you learn to program by learning the code, you essentially only know how to type. Rhyme.